Hello and welcome. This is rooflemonger. My friends, A.K.I is now live in Street Fighter 6 and she's really fun and really cool, and that's kind of the purpose of this video. Is I want to talk about my impressions of the character. But before that, specifically, one, A.K.I is in World Tour mode. You can check that out right here, right? That's what this footage is. And there's also a patch that came with the game. Now, I'm not going to call it necessarily a balance patch like you would normally expect, but it did change several fundamental aspects of the game. A lot of those have to deal with meter gain, and there's a lot of small examples, so I'm not going to go over every single one. I will include a link in the video description for the full patch notes if you want to check that out. But there is a few changes in this patch. It changed some of the fundamental game mechanics, not like in a major way, but in a way that is worth mentioning. So let's talk about that first before we get deep into the A.K.I shenanigans. So first off, some simple stuff. So they changed the dash input buffer. So the dash input buffer is now a little bit bigger than it was for forward dash or back dash. Handy enough. The big change for inputs is in regards to super activations, specifically generally dealing with supers that are like quarter circle forwards or double quarter circle backs. So what has happened now is the input recognition window is lower than it was before. Before, if you went like something including two double circle forwards, it would be in the memory longer than it is currently now. It's been shortened. So certain characters, say if you're walking forward, like say you're Ryu or something, right? And you threaten just going for a fireball, but you don't actually hit the button. You're just threatening it, right? And then you wait a split second and then try to throw another fireball, and then you would get the level 1 super, right? Because it was just the input was in the memory for so long, you got the super against your own will. So now basically the input buffer is simply shorter than it was, which also means you generally have to input your supers faster than you would before. So you got to be snug on your timing. But for people who accidentally get supers a lot, this is going to be a very big bonus for you. And it's just generally a change to the memory buffer. I know it's like boring talk, right? But it's definitely going to be very helpful for people at high level play. And once again, there's a lot about super gauge and how that works and how it's gained, a lot of changes there, and just a lot of bug fixes. So no proper balance patch yet. Once again, video description, got the link for the notes for you there. And otherwise, now let's talk about A.K.I. So out of the gate, I will say, admittedly, early impressions of the character, but I like this character a fair bit. If only for the fact that this character is a very strong neutral character, in my opinion, and I like a lot of the options there. Like stand medium kick. This move is ridiculous. This is like Lily stand medium punch almost. It's nuts. You can just poke and abuse, and she has all sorts of great pokes, like forward heavy punch as well. And if you want to see the number on some of these bad boys here, so stand medium kick, as good as it is, 9 frame startup, very respectable. Forward heavy punch is slower, 16 frames, right? But still, given the range it can connect from, it's pretty substantial, I would say. Also, forward heavy punch is super cancelable, by the way. Not special cancelable, but super cancelable. Stand heavy punch is really good as well. 12 frame startup. Crouch medium punch, almost as far range as stand medium kick, and is special cancelable. Like, if you like neutral and pokes, this character is really good. But I'm burying the lead here, I guess, because let's talk about poison first, because this is definitely the mechanic of the character, and it's very fun. So, unlike Fang, poison is 2-layer, right? So we apply the poison, and poison does its damage, and it's pretty negligible damage all told. Like, it's not going to win you the game, right? But the idea here is, once the poison is up, it is now then time to cash out. And there's a lot of ways to do it. So when someone's poisoned and you do the cash out, that's called the Toxic Blossom. And what I didn't fully appreciate before she launched is all the different ways you can explode the Toxic Blossom are all different from each other. Like her quarter circle forward punch series, Serpent Lash, right? Each button is a different move, by the way, different angles. They all cause completely different, like, explosion states. So if poison's on here and we do quarter circle forward punch, light punch, it's basically just a basic knockback, which is fair enough. This is like your poke one too, which is another really good aspect of her neutral. This is a really good poke, and it's a poke that applies poison and detonates poison, so you get a lot of damage out of it. However, if we go quarter circle forward medium, it's now a crumple. And since it's a crumple state, you can definitely get all sorts of fancy combos going on here, right? You can do a lot of things with it, so that's handy. And the heavy punch version is just a straight up launcher, just a full launcher, no fuss, no muss. You don't got to think about it too hard. And it is handy because it is easy to hit confirm into as well, just off like basic jabs and stuff, right? So you get juggle potential and obviously more in the corner. So all the detonations are different, and there's more than just that to detonate with as well. There's a target combo, stand heavy punch, and by itself it applies poison, even though it's not a special move, and it also detonates poison. It causes a launch. So if you manage to get this explosion off, you can get some pretty silly things happening. There's a lot of combo ability, a lot of options. You can do a lot of things with this mechanic. And just to note while we're here, so there's a lot of ways to apply the poison. So there is the projectile, it's Cortical Back Light, and it's a lower damage projectile, but it does apply poison, so you know, kind of makes up for it. And the whole Cortical Back series is different moves. So Cortical Back Medium is the puddle, and if you stand in the puddle at all, you're just poison's applied. End of story. There's no blocking it or anything. Just kind of that unblockable mechanic like Fang Head does go on. And Cortical Back Heavy Punch is just a big old poison explosion. And yes, it is very easy to combo and hit confirm into it from basic strings. Also, -4, but with good pushback. So if you're just doing the block string, you can feel pretty safe about it. All these Serpent Lashes also apply poison if it's not already on. So that's another good way to do so in the middle of the combo. Stand Heavy Punch also applies poison. Her stance, which we'll talk about in a second here, Stance Punch, also applies poison. So basically, there's a lot of ways to set up poison. Poison is the name of the game. Lots of ways to set it up, lots of ways to detonate it. And when you detonate it, either at bare minimum get more damage, or you'll get a nice fancy combo. Other aspects of her game plan, so she has the Stance Slide. And from there, we have Basic Strikes. So these are similar to Fangs, however, they're not plus on block, but they are combo starters. It's plus enough on hit to link into a crouching jab, and if it can link into a crouching jab, then you can go into any poison starter, poison application move. Also has the command grab. It's a true grab. You cannot block this, and basically it will choke you out. Now the damage is a little under 2,000, so it's not a lot. It's not safe, obviously, nor should it be, considering the character, but it's just a good little tool. As the stance kicks are, you know, somewhat spammable. They get good reward on hit, and they're safe on block, so if people are anticipating that, you can choke them out with the grab. And if you hit punch while in stance, it's a giant leap forward. So applies poison and also detonates poison. So if it's a detonator, it forces a crumple state. Very not safe on block, FYI. You can see here -20 plus on block, right? So if you get blocked, you're in for a bad time. So don't get blocked. Main use is basically to surprise people or just to use it in the middle of a combo. Before launch, I was led to believe this move would go through fireballs. Perhaps I misread that, but it definitely does not go through fireballs. It just gets hit, and nothing on the frame data counter says anything about invincibility to fireballs, so watch out. So everything from this stance is down 2 punches, so effectively like a coward crouch stance, compared to Cortical Forward Kick, which is the other sliding across the ground stance, and that does not have any moves from it. It's morely just for traversal, although the enhanced version is invulnerable to everything but throws. So it's a good get out of jail move, or if you just want to work your way in, just watch out for grab happy people, as it's the only weakness it has is it can be thrown. So just like Fang back in the day, if you do this and immediately go into EX Slide, it'll cancel the recovery into EX Slide, so you can try and chase ahead of the fireball. Also to note, given to its relative speed, you can definitely also just drive rush after the fact as well. Other aspects of the character I find really cool, just forward heavy kick is amazing. So forward heavy kick, 14 frame, multi-hitting move as you can see here. It is +4 on hit, so combos directly into crouch jab, into poison application, that's great. But the one cool thing about this, actually, let me correct myself because there is more than one cool thing, but it is plus on block, so she doesn't really have a lot of plus frames other than EX jump stabbies. The regular versions are not plus on block, FYI, only the EX version is. So it's just a good, source of plus pressure, which is good because she doesn't really have anything else that has that at all. Also, the move is a low crush. So it doesn't happen frame 1 or anything, but if the opponent is going for a lot of lows, you can crush the lows, and if you get a counter hit, the frame data comes +6, which means you can now link into stand medium punch instead of just going for the jabs. So it's just a really good workhorse of a move. Also, if you want to do it off drive kicks, it keeps a lot of momentum, +6 on block, and it's +8 on hit. So I'll let your imagination run wild on that. You can do a lot with it. And just a lot of other little things, like she has a heavy cross-up, jump down heavy punch. is a heavy damage cross-up, which is pretty rare. Most Street Fighter games, your cross-up is always going to be your medium or your light. Only like a few exceptions, like Seth in Street Fighter 4, could you get a heavy cross-up. She has a heavy cross-up. That's cool. She does have an overhead, and therefore, too, if you're so inclined, that means drive rush overhead gimmicks, +7 on hit. To mention her supers really quick. So, level 1 super is just really good combo fodder super, as it combos off most anything if you're going for a juggle. And by the way, after the fact, the poison state will always be applied no matter what, so it's just another way to keep poison on the enemy. Level 2 is interesting, as depending on the button press determines the angle. So like light, close, medium, heavy punch, far, right? And it always leaves a poison puddle on the ground no matter what. So I think this is kind of like the go-to in the corner. Since it's always there, if you're going for pressure, combos, whatever that involve Toxic Bloom and then going off, right? Then you can always rely on it, because it's always going to reapply the second the enemy gets up. And the puddle lasts a fair amount too. Also an interesting trait here, as we mentioned here, you know, different button, different ranges, right? So heavy is full screen. It also destroys projectiles. Now I know that doesn't seem like too much on paper, but it makes it a fairly good gotcha move. As especially from the distance you can throw it at, right, from full screen. Many projectile startups are slower, so you can get it. But also, when I say destroys projectiles, I mean all projectiles. So this is a guaranteed punish against Rashid's activation. So if he's tossing the tornado at you, mean all annoying, if he sees it, if you have the meter, guaranteed punish anywhere on the screen. You destroy the tornado too, so you don't got to worry about that. It doesn't do a lot of damage, but most characters can't do anything about Rashid doing that, right? A.K.I absolutely can, so that makes a level 2 extra fun. The level 3, it's kind of, you know, what you would expect. It's a level 3, right? You get your big damage, all that kind of stuff. Nothing too much to write home about it, other than it is 10 frame startup, which is pretty quick for what it is. Oh, and by the way, do you happen to know what move is exactly -10? So, that's fun at least, right? So, she'll get JP's number if he's just going to over-rely on the usual spam on block, right? Also, you don't even need super meter. Her sweep is actually really interesting, very far-reaching for a 10-framer, and also, it's the exact right range. So, once again here, JP on block, punish counter. So, some characters can deal with it, some characters can't, but it's just nice to know that you have some options. And that's just some of my observations about the character. Obviously not a full tech guide yet. It's day 1, right? I'll probably have more on the channel about A.K.I later on once we can figure out the character in more detail. I'll leave you with this. It's not the biggest deal, but it's still fun. That her taunt, if you let it play out the whole way, it does give her meter. So you can see here, while she's kind of losing her mind, right? And then you get a full bar out of it. Will someone ever let you do that in a real match? Almost certainly not. But it's still fun, and, you know, fun things are fun. I don't know. I got nothing else to say other than that. It's just a neat little detail. So other than that, check the channel for more future A.K.I and Street Fighter 6 content down the road. But other than that, we're at the end of the video. So thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well, and go out and play some Street Fighter.